Hello everyone and welcome to my channel. I'm Luke and I do perfume reviews. If that's something you're interested in, please consider subscribing, give this video a like and leave a comment down below. Let's chat in the comments. So in today's video, I'm going to talk about powdery / woody fragrances in my collection. Woody and powdery scents are two perfume categories that I really enjoy. So what does powdery even mean? Powdery is an accord in perfumery. That's not the easiest thing to describe because it doesn't refer to any single note. It's more about the powdery feeling a perfume evokes rather than its actual scent. Technically, powder doesn't have a smell, but traditionally, powdery fragrances are those that remind you of scented powders, baby powder. So powdery scents are always dry, soft and comforting. The notes we associate with powdery include iris, violet, orris, heliotrope, rose, musk, dry woods and even vanilla. So in this video I've got 6 different fragrances that all have a very strong powdery vibe to them. 5 of them are woody powdery and 1 is an iris fragrance. So let's start with the first one. The first scent is a very important icon in 20th century perfumery. It's Samsara from Guerlain. It came out in 1989. The nose behind it was Jacques Guerlain. For reference, my bottle is the Eau de Toilette version and I've almost finished it, as you can see. And I know it's hard to tell, but there's actually just a little bit left. So I'm using it very sparingly until I can find a new bottle. Samsara is probably the most famous sandalwood fragrance of all time. I would describe it as a dry, powdery, dusty sandalwood with ylang ylang, jasmine, iris and vanilla. The opening can be a bit off-putting at first because it's very green, citrusy and it smells very bitter to my nose. But luckily, that goes away in a few minutes and you're left with the most beautiful, creamy, rich sandalwood, which dominates the entire composition. You also get some florals, mainly yellow florals and white florals. So the 2 strongest floral notes are probably ylang ylang and jasmine. I can really smell these 2, but the star of the show is definitely sandalwood. Sandalwood gives Samsara a very dusty quality, while the iris and orris, which is just ground iris root, make it distinctly powdery. This makes Samsara incredibly elegant and classy, and I always feel very classy when I wear this one. It's not too sweet, it's got just the right amount of sweetness. I've also got a very small bottle of sandalwood essential oil, and I have to say, you can really smell the sandalwood in Samsara, even in this reformulated version. The reformulated version doesn't contain a real sandalwood from India anymore. It was called Mysore sandalwood. So they're using a synthetic substitute for sandalwood, but the older versions, especially the red bottles, contain real sandalwood from India. And I'm very happy with this version, which doesn't contain real sandalwood, but it does smell amazing to my nose. Whatever aroma chemical they're using, it does replicate the smell of sandalwood very, very well. So I'm very happy with this version. I'm not entirely sure if I would repurchase the newest version. Some people say it's essentially the same formula as the B bottle, but others disagree and say it's been completely changed. So I'll definitely look for a vintage bottle of this one for a reasonable price because, you know, eBay prices are up in the sky. So that's Samsara from Guerlain. Moving on, the next fragrance is another gorgeous powdery vintage scent that smells sweet, spicy, woody and comforting. And I'm talking about Dolce Vita from Dior. This one was launched in 1994. The perfumers were Pierre Bourdon and Maurice Roger. And I always describe it as a spicy, fruity delight in the form of a fragrance. Dolce Vita is spicy, woody, fruity, vanillic, and most of all, very powdery. The powderiness in this one comes from a bunch of different notes, such as heliotrope, vanilla, rosewood, and sandalwood. When you first spray it, it's all about the sweet peach and cinnamon, but the powdery woody base is already coming through. Once this dries down, you're left with not one, but three beautiful, dusty, woody notes: sandalwood, rosewood, and cedarwood. You also get a very pleasant vanillic sweetness. However, this fragrance is neither sweet nor gourmand by today's standards. The idea of a woody dominant fragrance for women was already introduced by Samsara and Shiseido Féminité du Bois in the early 90s. But Dolce Vita, too, is a very interesting take on a woody fragrance. It's neither overly vintage smelling nor overly modern smelling. It's sweet, but it never goes into the gourmand direction. So the powderiness and the dustiness of the woods prevent this from happening. So that's Dolce Vita from Dior. Next up, we've got Sensuous from Estée Lauder. This is a 2008 release. The nose behind it was Annie Byzantine. Sensuous is classified as an amber woody fragrance, but it's also distinctly powdery in my opinion. Estée Lauder wanted to create a modern oriental fragrance that offers a new take on the classic oriental base, which vintage Estée Lauder fragrances are known for. And that's exactly what Sensuous is. It's a sweet, powdery, modern smelling, woody scent. It opens sweet and floral, but as it dries down, it transforms into a sweet, powdery, woody scent that I absolutely love. This is soft, comforting, sweet, and very cozy. I can really pick up on the sandalwood, the amber, honey, and some white florals, nondescript white florals. This scent is very creamy, smooth, and powdery. It's such a nice scent. It's almost like a sweeter, modern take on Samsara. It has the same DNA as some other Estée Lauder fragrances like Spellbound. So if you're looking for a sweet, modern smelling powdery fragrance, check this one out. It was discontinued for a few years, but I keep hearing they brought it back. I bought mine in December, so definitely check if it's still available in your country, because I keep hearing it might be discontinued again, but I'm not sure if any of those rumors are true. So that's Sensuous from Estée Lauder. Next up, we've got another iconic woody powdery fragrance from the 90s. This one is my favorite in this entire video. It's Dune from Dior. Dune is a gorgeous, dusty, powdery, woody fragrance with hints of florals, aldehydes, and vanilla. It's a very unusual and odd fragrance, but it's strangely addictive and melancholic. As you can see, I love wearing this one. I almost have to stop myself because I don't want to run out of it anytime soon. So Dune came out in 1991 and it was created by three perfumers, one of them being Dominique Ropion. Word has it that Dior wanted to launch something completely different, a light, beachy oriental, and they succeeded. They created Dune. Dune is indeed a soft oriental fragrance. The woody notes, along with the amber, are what makes it oriental, but it's also got some freshness in the opening and some very strange florals in the heart. The scent itself is very odd and unusual. It defies description. It's very ambery and woody, yet so fresh, airy and breezy. It has just the right amount of sweetness, although it's not a sweet scent. The powdery accord is also very prominent. It's as if the entire scent was wrapped in a veil of soft powder. It's like applying a soft focus filter to a harsh, vintage-style, spicy oriental fragrance. I consider Dune an absolute masterpiece. I can't explain why I love it so much, but I could easily wear this one every single day if I didn't have any other fragrances. It's so nostalgic and melancholic. It triggers something within me, yet I can't explain it to you. I can't put my finger on it. It's a very pleasant feeling. It's enjoyable. Some people write in reviews that it makes them sad and depressed, and that's not the case with me. This one makes me happy in a nostalgic, melancholic, reflective way, if that makes any sense. So that's Dior Dune. Next up, I've got a fragrance called Mystic Experience from the niche house of Initio. I was really pleasantly surprised when I tried this one. Mystic Experience is a soft, powdery amber fragrance. The notes are amber, musk, sandalwood, coffee, and oak moss. I can't detect any oak moss, but this is definitely a musky, powdery, and woody scent. I also don't get much coffee, maybe just a hint of coffee. This is a nice fragrance, but it doesn't last a very long time on me. It's also quite synthetic smelling, to be quite honest with you. And I think this one would make a nice, cozy nighttime fragrance or something to use as a base if you intend to wear some other fragrance over it later on during the day. So I often spray a soft powdery fragrance in the morning and then spray on something stronger in the afternoon. I don't really call this layering, but this is how I intend to use up this decant because it doesn't have much sillage. So if I wear it on its own, I mean, you can smell it. It's a very subtle skin scent, but it doesn't really perform on me, sadly. Maybe it does on other people, I don't know. Maybe my decant is expired. I also don't know that. So that's Mystic Experience from the house of Initio. Last but not least, we've got a powdery iris fragrance. This is one of the best powdery fragrances I've ever tried. You can see how much I've used, and I've only had this a few months, since October, I think. And I'm talking about Dior Homme Intense from 2011. This is not the original formula. It was reformulated back in 2020, if I'm not mistaken. Lots of people online report performance issues with this one, but on me, this is beast mode. Dior Homme is all about the note of iris. Iris is the star of the show. I love the smell of iris. I've got irises in my garden. I love iris fragrances. This scent is on another level. For a designer fragrance, it smells incredibly elegant. It smells very powdery and almost makeup-y, lipsticky, but it's an incredibly elegant, masculine-leaning fragrance. Guys in the perfume community really love and praise this one, and I can see why. It's gorgeous. This fragrance made me realize just how much I love the note of iris in fragrances. It also has some woody and musky touches, but it's predominantly an iris fragrance. When I run out, I'll be picking up a 100ml bottle of Dior Homme Intense. Okay, so those were all the powdery and woody fragrances that I wanted to talk about in this video. Let me know if you own, like, or dislike any of them. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope to see you in one of my next videos. Bye.